So this is Lara, aka the Sound Sommelier, talking with OneBeLo. What's your earliest memory of hip hop?
Earliest memory of hip hop. Probably off the top, I would say, I used to go over to my grandmother's house, you know what I mean, and basically play with my cousins. That was like the little spot, and my mom's and pops, they was already listening to like vinyl, you know what I mean. It's like my parents' music, you know what I mean.
Mhm.
But I would go to my grandmother's house, and my younger cousin, he's like 2 years younger than me. I remember he had a tape, and it was Run DMC. You know what I mean? And it was like it was nothing like Anita Baker or Cool in the Gang or
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying. And it was like
Mhm.
whoa, like you know what I mean. This was like not my parents' music. You know what I'm saying? So it was just a big deal for me. You know what I mean? And yeah, I don't want to go super deep into it, but like he was like Run, and I was like DMC. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure I was raised in hell. That might not be my
I was
first
gonna ask which
memory, but
one.
I remember like music, like really getting into it. That was like, whoa, this was different. You know what I mean?
Where were you living at the time?
I grew up in Pontiac, Michigan, so this was in
Mm.
Pontiac. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Growing up as a youngin.
So, like you just said, you grew up just north of Detroit around the time that Motors began shutting down, leaving thousands jobless. How did this impact your upbringing and ultimately your decision to pursue a career in music?
Uh, my pops, he used to work at the plants. And
Okay.
I remember like sometimes like even maybe dropping them off and just seeing like it seemed like a million people at shift
Mhm.
change. You know what I'm saying? I had never seen that many people in my life. But my pops, he from what I understand, he worked a skilled trade. You know what I mean? So he never lost his job. You know what I mean? I did see a lot of like a lot of people moved with the plants. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
A lot of people who like some of the plants in Pontiac, for example, shut down. You know what I mean? My pops worked out in Lake Orion, so he still had this job. He was skilled trade. How would I say that it affected me in my decision to do anything? If anything, him being employed just kept the lights on. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
one thing I remember is I just remember like the strikes. I didn't understand it then, but like they would go on strike, and like cars would go by and be honking the horns and stuff like that, and I didn't really understand it at that time. You know what I mean? Like what
Mhm.
the whole solidarity aspect of. I remember asking my pops one time, like, what happens if you go to work? And he was like, nah, you can't do that. Like, he
Uh,
didn't say it in these words, but he was basically like,
mhm.
if you try to go to work while everybody's striking, you'll get
Right.
fucked up. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And, I just remember like having these kind of questions, like what's going on, and why are they asking for more money or
Mhm.
better working conditions or
Right.
whatever, you know what I'm saying? So I think the reason why I bring that up is because in that way, it was a form of solidarity. It was a form of community, uh, people coming together to basically, because if 20 people saying we ain't working and one person is like, well, I'm working,
Mhm.
it doesn't work. You know what I mean? But when everybody's like, ain't nobody gonna work until we get what we want. You know what I mean? It just at an early age, it kind of instilled that in me, like how to
Mhm.
stick together, and it was just a different type of team ball. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. When you were in school, did you play any instruments? Like, were you musically inclined already?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that the first instrument is the human body. You know what I'm saying? Cause I grew up in church,
Hmm.
like snapping fingers, and we didn't play instruments in church. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it was all a cappella. It was all using our voices. Clapping and snapping
Hmm.
fingers and stuff like that. But in middle school, I started. It's funny because I wanted to play the drums. I wanted to play something cool. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And we didn't, when I got to band, sixth grade, seventh grade, I started playing in band, and like Mr. Humphrey, he basically told me I was gonna play the trombone. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so I started playing trombone, and yeah, I was pretty good at it. You know what I mean? I was like, to be such a young player. You know what I mean? I was hanging out with the jazz band and the honors band, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I just got tired of taking that big ass instrument to the crib,
I
you
was
know what
gonna
I
say
mean? It
that's
was
a
just,
big.
I mean, it's not, this what I mean. Like, yo, like now I want to play the trombone again. You get what I'm saying? I'm like, oh,
Right.
but it's like, it's just not, when you like 12 years old or whatever, you're not like, yo, let me pull out my trombone and let me show you something, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And, we did our thing, but it was like, I didn't really enjoy it until I remember we played Michael Jackson Bad, right?
Nice.
And like, I'm sliding, like I had a big part in that song. And it was like, that's when it was, it's cool playing Beethoven or whoever, you know what I'm saying? But when you start playing songs that you know what I mean?
Right.
But the trombones, that was my thing, you know what I mean? The mouthpiece, the spit valve, and all that kind of
Yeah.
shit, you know what I mean?
When did you discover your love of the written word?
My love of the written word. Yo, I always like to write, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
it didn't, I don't really think about time, right? But I remember seeing a old school picture. Maybe I was 8, and I won this like poetry contest when I was in like first grade or something. I don't even know how old I was, but I remember seeing like I remember I had a shag. I was on stage, and I think I won like a silver medal or something like that. But it hit me. I was like, yo, I've always been a writer. That's crazy. Like because I don't think about, you know, being a writer or anything like that. But I always like writing. I always like just art. I always like being creative and creating and
Mhm.
that kind of thing. You know what
Was
I'm
your
saying?
family
Even just
supportive of that?
um yeah, kinda. I don't even know. You know, I've been in my own world for so long. I don't even know. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know if they even knew. You know what I mean? Because I like, for example, right in my room, my bedroom was like plastered with posters. You get what
Mhm.
I'm saying? Like I had one wall that was all Michael Jordan posters, all Sports Illustrated, whatever, whatever. And then I
Mhm.
had another wall. Well, that was like 3 walls, but I had this one wall that was all like not Rap City, Yo MTV Rap,
Mhm.
like Kool Mo D, Queen Latifah, Heavy D, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And so it was just kind of, I would do stuff, I would get in trouble, and I would get sent to my room. But you couldn't really punish me because I always, I'm a writer. I'm gonna go to my room and just write. I used to watch the A Team and just turn my bed into like a tank or something. You know what I
Nice.
mean? I was always making up shit. So I just always been in my own world, so I don't even know if people even knew what I was thinking, or I was kind of weird, you know what I'm saying? And so, was my family supportive? I feel like everybody was kind of like doing their own thing, you know what I mean? I would get on my bike and just go to the park or go play baseball or go play basketball. I was always
Mhm.
doing my own thing, but I think like I was really a lot of things were, for lack of a better word, compartmentalized, right?
Mhm.
So I went to church over here, but I hung with the kids from the hood over there, but I played basketball over there, but I was in the Boy Scouts, but I also like to write poetry. But so the
Mhm.
poetry cats is like, oh, you hanging out with them dudes in it, but I thought it was all fun, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, I was kind of like I was just in all these different circles, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I don't even know if my parents or folks really had time to even really keep up with
Right.
all of that, you know what I'm saying?
Who are some of the earlier writers that you remember admiring or liking their work?
Earliest writers, I mean, come on, yo,
Poets,
Dr.
writers.
Seuss. Dr. Seuss, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Um, Dr. Seuss was dope to me, you know what I mean? I don't really remember reading a lot of books when I was a kid. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Besides I read the Bible growing up. You know what I'm saying? And like it was a big deal to like memorize Bible verses,
Right.
memorize like the Psalms and stuff like that.
But when you
Um,
started writing poetry, there weren't any poets that you were like into.
I'm gonna say like when I got to high school, I do remember like reading like Edgar Allan Poe, and
Okay.
I thought Edgar Allan Poe was like a big deal.
Hmm.
Like out of all the people we had to read, I was like, oh, this dude's he was kind of creepy. You know what I mean? Like he was dope. You know what I mean? So I do remember Edgar Allan Poe. I remember reading Frankenstein. I remember reading Scarlet Letter. Like you know what I mean? But I was really more into like comic books. You know what I'm saying? Like that's I read like what I read. If I read anything was like comic books and like Sports Illustrated, sports stuff. Like I didn't really consider myself, I was a poet, but I didn't think of it like that. You know what I mean? I guess, you know what I mean? It was just, like hip hop. Everybody was doing bubble letters.
Right.
Everybody knew how to beatbox. Everybody knew how to do the worm. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I'm a dancer. I didn't consider myself a dancer or a graffiti artist or whatever. It was just all of that was just a part of being a kid. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, Edgar Allan Poe was kind of early in the game. I remember reading that on my own, actually, you know what I mean? But
Hmm.
other than that, it was pretty much just comic books. I was flipped. I remember when the first issue of Wolverine came out, I was flipping over that, you know what I mean? Because before it was just the Uncanny X-Men or,
Right.
you know, the Amazing Spider-Man, you had the Spectacular Spider-Man. I was really like comic books is my thing, mostly Marvel, you know what I mean? But
Hmm.
yeah, I did like stories, but I don't even really remember. I like playing brain puzzles and games and stuff like that. I like crossword puzzles. I just like, I remember when I was a kid, my
It's like
grandmother,
words.
we would visit Tennessee. We would drive to Tennessee, and my grandmother, maybe I was 4 or 5, and she'd be like, "Oh, Roland, he's real smart. Like, where's that sign said?" I'd be like, "Cincinnati." Like, I'd be reading the signs and stuff.
Uh-huh.
So it was just words and typography and just letters, like just in general. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Was there anyone that you looked to as a mentor when you decided to get more into the production side of things?
A mentor.
Or
What
just
I do
anyone that helped
remember,
you get your foot in the door?
I think what I remember for real is like like my parents had vinyl, and like that was like this might sound crazy, but I never attached vinyl to hip hop culture. You know what I mean? That
Hmm.
was like my parents got records. Like I don't. And they wasn't using them. They wasn't playing these records. Like I'm saying, the older I got, it was just records sitting in the basement, sitting wherever they was at. And I remember when I was in high school, one of my boys made a beat or something like that. My boy Vernon, he used to like beat on the table. We used to call him Burning Knuckle Vernon. This dude was his hands was on a whole nother. Anyways, he had a sampler, and he basically showed me how he chopped. Like I only seen it one time and was like, oh, I'm like, whoa, I got records in my basement, yo. And that's when the whole world changed.
Nice.
But I always was a curious person who wanted to do it myself. I never wanted
Right.
to know. I'm not saying I didn't have I guess you could say Decompose was like a mentor, but I didn't know it. You know what I mean? When I
Hmm.
came home from prison, um, it's funny, yo, because I came home from prison and cats was like, who's making the beats? I'm like, me. They're like, you ever made beats before? I'm like, nope. Like, who's putting it out? Like, you know what I mean? I just knew, like, because, like, my understanding of hip hop is me. I don't need permission. I don't got to ask somebody, can I do it? Like, I know how I want to make my sandwich. You get what I'm saying? So when me and Decompose would go to the studio at the same time, you know what I mean? We was linking up, at one point with this dude, DL Jones. Shout out to DL Jones. He had the gear. We would just go over there with our records, and like the composer make a beat, then I would make a beat, then he would make a beat, then I would make a beat. So I'm just sitting here waiting for him. So yeah, I am absorbing it. You know what I mean? It's not like I knew what I was doing. So, Pat had the gear. He knew how to push the buttons.
Right.
decompose. You know, we would go to the record store and he would go straight to the jazz section and maybe grab, you know, Ramsey Lewis or whatever. So I'm like, all right, I'm about to go to the other side of the record store. You know what I mean? And like whatever he was doing, I was trying to do the complete opposite. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I was just always not even trying to be different, just different. You know what I mean?
Just doing your own
Whatever
thing.
that means. I don't even know. I would like to believe I wasn't even really paying attention to nobody else, for real. But you know, you influence each other, hanging around each other.
You
You know what I
absorb
mean?
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, but I would never be like that was my mentor. But yeah, you know, I learned a lot. I learned a lot from just being around people. You know, I'm an athlete. I'm a team player. You know what I mean? It's important to have your own individual talent or skill or whatever and to hone and harness that, but it's also important to know how to play with the rest of the team. You know what I mean? So that's how I think about it.
Can we talk a bit about how the time you spent in prison shifted your plan for the future?
Yo, prison. So, you know, I would say that, okay, so here's the thing. I'll say it like this. So my uncle, my mother's youngest brother, I mean, he went, maybe he was like 17 or whatever. He went to prison when I was like 1 year old. He got sentenced to natural life. So I don't want to say I grew up in prison, but I definitely grew up visiting my uncle in prison. It was like every weekend we went to go visit him. And like, I think because I was a kid and he was such a, like he wasn't like a felon or he wasn't like a murderer. He was a teenager. You know what I mean? So when we grew up visiting my uncle, we're going to see like young dudes in our family and other kids from our community, and I wasn't looking at him like you a criminal or what are you doing here. I was looking at him like, oh, and he was coming out. So because he had natural life in prison, you know, I was growing up and I was playing basketball. I thought I was gonna go to college and all this kind of stuff, whatever. But I was also, you know, doing my dirt. So when I got caught up, when I got entangled, you know, the first thing I'm thinking is like, first of all, anything less than life is a blessing. You know what I'm saying? If I get 20 years, like, because I always had my uncle, like, I always had him as a, you know, he got locked up. He lost his life. You know what I mean? Supposedly, he's supposed to come home this year.
Oh, wow.
It's a miracle. Like, this man been locked up 40 years. You know what I'm saying? But I knew I didn't want to be that person.
Right.
And then I knew people who had been locked up 3 times. This is third bid. And I was like, fuck that. I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of like, when I got caught up in that situation, I was already kind of like, all right, like, you know, I started thinking like, man, we out here hustling and these white people out here hustling too, but they're doing it legally. Like we out here hustling and running from the police. We out here hustling and hurting each other. I'm like, you know what? There's ways to hustle and you know what I mean? And so, and also because I had got locked up with Ross, you know what I mean? I'm like, yo, man, we got the same exact time. We're on the same compound. I'm like, man, we here for a reason. This is a sign. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I had started studying Islam. I started thinking like this ain't. I'm not even looking at it like this is a punishment. I'm looking at it like, yo, this is like a divine sign for me. Like, and like with all the other stuff that was going on in the world, you know, the shit my mom's was going through. My cousin had just got murdered. I was really locked up for myself. Because if I didn't get locked up when I did, like it was shit happening that I couldn't even do nothing about it. And like I was, you know, I was a different person back then. You get what I'm saying? So me being locked up, you know, I didn't go to college. I didn't go to school. You know, some of my friends went to the army. Some of them went to college. Me, I didn't have girls, teachers, jobs, kids, mortgages. I just could sit there and just think and study and just think about what I was doing. You know what I mean? And so yeah, in about 8 months, I flipped the whole script, and next thing you know, I was asking, certain friends like, yo, I need this book, everything you need to know about the music industry. I need this other book, like how to copyright my music. I need this other book right here, like how to trademark this, like, you know what I mean? And I just knew, like, this is who I am. This is what I do. So when I get home, also I started studying Islam, and so I just wanted to study as much as I could because I wanted to be able to talk to the real Muslims when I got home. So all I did was just, worked out, read my books, you know what I mean? I worked in the kitchen, and I did the best as I could to, like, stay out of trouble. Like I said, I had a little guidance, but my uncle, I already been uncle, just seeing it or hearing it. So it was kind of like, there was nothing romantic about it. It was already demystified, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it was like, fortunately I had some people in there that, some of these people knew my moms. So it was almost kind of like, you might look at these people and be like, look at these deadbeat dads, or look at this guy drunk driving, or look at that. But no, it was like God sent these people to myself. It was like, I remember these conversations verbatim. Maybe I talked to this guy 2 times, 1 time, but like all of these things was like just preparing me to just think beyond my circumstances. And so now I'm not even in prison no more. I'm in chapter 2. Like, I own my own time. I own my own space. Like, I'm not, oh, you did this and you did that, and that's why you're here. It's like, no, I'm here for something. I'm here for, like, this is why I'm here. Like, I get to paint my own canvas. I get to identify myself. You know what I mean? And so I think that's kind of like one of the best things that happened to me when I went to prison. Is like I lost my freedom. You know what I mean? I lost friends. I lost approval. I lost things that I realized I didn't even really need. I'm like, oh shit, I don't need your fucking approval. Like, I can, you know what I mean? And I just really just rewired, I rewired myself and came out, I hit the ground running. You got what I'm saying? So I think, I never really looked at hip hop as a career. I never looked at hip hop as a job or as it's who I am. You get what I'm saying? So I never was like, oh, I'm going to get out of my career. It's going to be that. I never thought about no record deals or, I remember when I was in high school and I was telling my father, like, yo, we about to move to New York. We about to do this music shit. You know what I mean? And I remember my pops asked me, he was like, what are you going to do if you don't make it?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, make what? What are you talking about, man? This ain't, it's like, this is what I'm saying. You mean when my heart stop beating, I'll be dead. Like, that's how I understood that. I didn't understand it. It's not like you make an album and then you be like,
Right.
I made it. I'm signed. I didn't even care about nothing like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, prison just helped me to just, you know what I mean? Like, before I went to prison, the way I thought about women, the way I thought about money. I mean, I thought I was the black nigga that they call Rollo. That's what I was calling myself. You know what I mean? Just the way I thought about a lot of things. It was kind of like,
So it humbled you?
you're not a nigga, man. You're not. These ain't bitches and hoes.
Mm-hmm.
Money. It ain't like, you know what I'm saying? It was just, I just had to sit down for a minute and not have distractions, not be around people pulling me in different directions. And when I say people, I don't even mean negative people or positive people. I mean people.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have nobody telling me this is what the good books say, or this is what it say, or this is what you should be doing. Like, I got to figure this out for myself. And I had the time and the space. I'm really grateful to even be able to have that time and space to even be able to do that. Because a lot of us, even now, you know what I mean? It's like, man, you got to work. The bills are calling. Like, man, it's so many things pulling you. Like, I mean, it's just life.
Yeah.
Period. You know what I'm saying? It reminds me of this surah in the Quran. It says, it's like, it basically is like the mutual rivalry for piling up the good things of this life diverts you from the more serious things until you reach the graves.
Mm-hmm.
And like, this doesn't apply to this person or that person. That applies to everybody. Yeah. There's so much going on in life that you're trying to, like, make sure you pay your bill. You're trying to stay healthy. You're trying to get the kids tight. You're trying to be happy. You're trying to find the love, you know, happiness, whatever. And you can forget about your health, or you can forget about whatever. You know what I mean? So I really just had a chance to sit down and just breathe and just think like, yo, man, these cats want you to, man, there's so many things pulling you so many different directions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, people get
But, you
overwhelmed by
know,
their priorities.
I don't want to get super deep, but
No,
that's where I was at, though. You got what I'm saying?
I hear you. When did you and Senem Silla connect?
When did we connect? I mean, you know, we went to high school together. And when I say, let me rephrase that. We went to the same high school. And when I was in high school, I mean, I was a basketball player. You know what I mean? I was a basketball player who rapped. And my rap friends, Sanam was one of them, Malachi was one of them. They was like the rappers. They was like MCs. And I was a basketball player who just happened to be able to rap. And like, yeah, man, I was cool with them. So I remember I also was in a situation where, like, you know, I met Decompose in high school, and like, you know, make a long story short, Decompose was like, well, his name was D Flat back then. He was like, hey man, you trying to go to the studio? I'm like, yeah, sure. You know what I mean?
Right.
It wasn't my thing, but it was like, so this dude had a job, you know what I'm saying? We was paying $50. Well, he paid $50 an hour. We would go to the studio, maybe be in there for 2 hours, make the beat, write rhymes, record them all in like an hour or whatever kind of thing, or just have rhymes already written. And so I don't want to say like Sanam was my fan, you know what I mean? But like when I was in high school, I had a couple songs recorded. So a couple people knew that and was like, oh, low, and back then my name was Low Fat. Oh, Low Fat, what up, Low Fat? You know what I'm saying? So my boy Jay Malachi, who is like the OG, he's like my mentor. Jay was like, yo, I'm about to start this group called The Spooks, Spontaneous Peoples on Other Kind of Shit. He said it's gonna be me, Note, you, and this little nigga named Ross. I'm like, all right, bet, because Jay was like, if he said it was happening, it was happening. So he put together this crew called The Spooks, and I was more closer to C Note. It was like Malachi and Shanaim was like kind of like A-alikes, and me and Note was more like A-alikes, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But when I graduated in 94, don't ask me how, but when I graduated in 94, you know what I mean? That summer I was just wilding. Low Fat. L-O-F-A-T. Lyrics of a fat ass track. Say my rap grow like a fro when I got this shit down pat. It's called Low Fat. L-O-F-A-T.
How did you not know that was an acronym?
But yeah, so December '94 is when I really started hanging out with Rush.
Okay.
Like, cause he was a senior in high school. I had graduated, but you know, I don't want to really be telling other people's stories, but
Okay.
like, we spent more time hanging out with each other. You know what I'm saying? And make a long story short, me and him ended up going to prison together. So a lot, I hear stories where people like, oh, Sanam and Lo met in prison. Nah, we knew each other before that. You know what I mean? But yeah, that little time that, you know, one thing I gotta say too is my boy Lamar. This dude was in college. He went to Oakland University, and at that time, Oakland University had like the #1 soccer team or the #2 soccer team in America. I mean, these cats was like the soccer. I didn't know shit about soccer, but these, you know, my boy Lamar, he used to sell weed or whatever. So I was just going over there for the weed, to be honest, you know what I'm saying? But we would go over there to smoke weed, and he would be like, rap, rap, rap. All we did was just rap. I'm talking about hours. I'm talking about hours on hours on hours. Like, you know, I seen you had Steel on here last week. I mean, we would turn on Black Moon because they had all the beats. We would turn on like Black Moon and just rap over their beats. We would be rapping on top of Wu-Tang beats. And all we did was rap. He would take us to Oakland University. We would rap, rap, rap. So I think the summer of '94, that's when we went into this little rap boot camp, and that's when me and you know, and even Ross, we got super cool around that time, you know what I mean? So I think for that to happen right before we got locked up, because we got locked up in the summer of we got locked up in November '94, like 18 days after my 18th birthday, you know, we got locked up. But we had already went through this we probably did 10,000 hours worth of rapping in that summer. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So we connected like lyrically. We could finish each other's sentences. You know what I'm saying? We had that kind of chemistry. Like back then, we used to beatbox. I would be beatboxing, you would be rapping, and then we would switch off from the beatboxing to rapping. So it was just that kind of chemistry. You know what I mean?
Nice.
So that's why when we got locked up, I was like, yo, man. I'm like, you know, we here for a reason, man. I'm like, yo, the Spooks is dope, but I'm like, yo, me and you here for a reason. We got to come up with a name that's like, it's like it rings like the Spooks, but it's like it's dope, but it's, you know what I mean? And so he was like, yeah. So I was like, yo. So I remember going back to my cube. I went back to my bunk because we was on a yard. They called the yard. I went back in and I started looking through the dictionary, and I'm like, yo, I got to come up with a name. I'm like, okay, double, duo, bicycle, binary code, binary digit, binary star. I wrote this shit on a piece of paper, and then when they called the yard, he was sitting out there on a picnic table, and I went out there and I was like, I just handed him the paper. I was like, yo, check this out. And he looked at it, he was like, and that's where binary star came from. You get what I'm saying? But you know, whatever.
Whatever. How soon after your release did you get to work on your new first EP, New Hip Hop?
You know, here's the thing, right? So I know because a lot of people was like, yo, you was locked up. I know you wrote a lot of rhymes. I'm like, nope, I didn't write a lot of rhymes because I knew how to rap. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like reading books, and I was doing stuff that I had never really, you know, that's when I started really reading when I got locked up, right? But I did write this one verse when I was in prison. I wrote a couple maybe, but I wrote one verse for sure. And I remember coming home and I'm telling my boy D Flat, or his name is Decomposed now. I'm like, yeah, man, I got this verse that I wrote. When I shoot a rhyme, I make you shudder. I should have shot an MC for trying to steal my butter. He's bitter because I'm better. So now he drinks the bottle. I did a dirty duty with the cutie. She's a model, right? And he was like, I got a beat for that. And I'm like, I'm not one of those dudes. You don't have a beat for that, dog. Let me hear what you talk about. You know what I'm saying? And so he had this sample, and he was like, yo, I want to sample this. And so we went to the studio. And so I'm bringing this up because I just work on music. I don't work on projects. So he said, when did we start working on the new hip hop EP? We didn't know that it was gonna be no new hip hop EP. We just had rhymes, we had beats. It's kind of just slapping shit together. So the way that kind of happened is like, you know, I don't want to say Glenn Close was maybe the first joint. We used to call it the first. Like I don't even remember the names of songs since we called them different things. Like Conquistadors is called the Chuck joint. I think Reality Check is called the first joint, you know, new hip hop. Anyways, we had these songs, and I remember being in this, when we got off parole, we started doing shows in, what up, though? When we got off parole, we started doing shows in, like, one of the first places we started going outside of Michigan. Because I was on parole, I had a 10:30 curfew. So not only was I on parole for 2 years, I'm supposed to be in the house by 10:30. And, like, I was going to shows, but I wasn't supposed to, you know what I mean? So one of the first places we went to Chicago, you know what I mean? And I remember being in this record store called Gramophone, and I was just, you know, I was already thinking like, all right, we was already calling like Michigan Waterworld. Like me, like it's the Murder Mitten, people saying all this other shit. I just wanted my own thing, you know what I mean? So I'm like, you know what? When we go to Flint, they be representing Flint. When we go to the D, they represent Detroit. When we go to Pontiac, they screaming Pontiac. When you go to Ann Arbor, they talking about H Deuce. And, you know, for real, don't nobody in Pontiac give a fuck that you from Detroit. You know what I'm saying? For real. Nobody in Flint gives a fuck that you from Pontiac. You know what I mean? But I'm like, yo, I'm going to say Waterworld. Because Waterworld is the whole state. Like when I'm in Flint, I'm repping Waterworld. When I'm in Detroit, I'm repping Waterworld. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, the UMCs is from Staten Island. but Wu-Tang Clan is from Shaolin. You get what I'm saying? I'm like Waterworld. So my idea was like, yo, let's put out a project and we got to call it Waterworld so people know where it came from. You know what I mean? The new hip hop EP was like, that was my attempt to be like, look, okay, let's do a joint with both of us on it, and let's do a joint because Binary Star is not a crew. Binary Star is not. Binary Star means two stars that revolve around each other, but me and Decompose is Binary Star. Me and Brenda J is Binary Star. I said on the first album, like a lot of people, they're gonna look at Binary Star and think we're a crew, but in reality, we two MCs that revolve around each other. Like we're not a crew. He got his own. He do his thing. I do my thing. He do his thing. He do his thing. But it was like, yo, let's put all our shit together. You know what I mean? And I told Decompose, I said, look, man, you're a part of this shit, dog. Like I don't care what nobody say. You're gonna be a part of this shit. So Decompose, because these cats was making music while we was locked up. They was still doing their thing.
Right.
Imagine we come home from prison and they like, we doing this. I'm like, fuck that. I'm about to do this. They're like, who does this nigga think he is? Talking about he about to do Binary Star. What the fuck is that? You know what I mean? But that's just what I believed. And like cats, I don't even know why, man. Cats just jumped behind it. You know what I'm saying? And so Cats was down. You know what I mean? And so Slang Blade, that was Raw's song. I had Glenn Close. And what else is on that joint? I think it was New Hip Hop. And like you couldn't tell me that New Hip Hop wasn't the shit. Like when we did that New Hip Hop shit, it was like that was the shit. I was like, and you know, we was hanging out, Decompose. He was like, I know this DJ named Rick. His name is DJ Uppercut. He's like, he go to school at U of M. This is why we started hanging out in Ann Arbor, because the DJ that we was rocking with, he went to school out in Ann Arbor. So we would go out there to go kick it with this dude. And like, check this out. I'm hanging out on the U of M campus, and I'm like, why the fuck am I here? I'm thinking like, these white kids are never gonna understand me. Like, when I say, this is how I represent, I rock the mic 110%, it's intimate, they're not gonna understand that. Like, like this is what I was thinking. Because before I got locked up, like, hip hop was black. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I got locked up, I'm talking about Source Magazine. Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? You go to a show, you're gonna see like 80, 90, if not 98% black folks. So when I went to Ann Arbor, the University of Michigan, I went to a hip hop show, and it was like 98% white. And not only that, but like people was talking about Master P and No Limit. I was like, man, I don't think these people going to be fucking with nothing that we talking about, man. And so I came home from prison like, I'm not, you know, I got a B-boy mentality. I'm not trying to be down with everybody. I don't want to be liked by everybody. This is for the people who fuck with it. You know what I mean? So I was just like, man, between being white and being in Master P and No Limit, like, I don't even know if we even got a place in this world, but this is what's in my heart. You know, so this is what I'm going to say. You know what I mean? And it's just funny, yo, because I'm like, well, y'all like this, like how? People like, your music was in a snowboard video. I'm like, how was it? Who snowboards? What does that even mean? I don't even know why. Like, it just, and I'm like, you idiot. You said it's for blacks, whites, Asians, Hispanics, Christians, Muslims. Like, you said that. Like, how you going to be surprised? I'm like, damn, you can't just, like, you got to know what the fuck you talking about. You know what I'm saying? Is this really for Asians? Is it really for blacks and whites? Like, don't be surprised when they show up at the show, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, that's what hip hop is. It don't have a color. It don't have, I would never in a million years think that my Pontiac ass would even belong in Ann Arbor, let alone be doing a lecture at Cornell University or even going to Tunisia or whatever. It was just, you know, just not really understanding the world and not really understanding why people really connect. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm rambling, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
history lesson. Side note, Reality Check has to be one of my favorite songs ever.
That's wow. The crazy part about Reality Check is that song, like, I wrote a verse. The verse that I wrote is not on the song.
Okay.
I wrote a verse, And when I heard Sanam's verse, I was like, oh shit. Like, I'm like, yo, I can't be spitting this bullshit right here. And you gotta understand something. I'm a basketball player. I'm not a rapper.
Right.
So the way I looked at Sanam Silla's lyrics, I'm like, yo, man, when people hear him rap and when they hear me rap, they're gonna wonder why is he even wasting his time rapping with me. Like, I honestly thought that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think when that new hip hop EP dropped, I knew everybody was gonna wild out over Slang Blade, and I was thinking like, man, I got this little Glenn Close, like this little story, like it's not lyrical, it's you know what I mean? And I think it kind of fucked all of us up when that shit came out. People was like, oh man, the spaghetti song, like the Fatal Attraction song, like, and I was just like, word, like, and I think I don't want to speak for nobody else, but I think it fucked us both up in a different kind of way.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Because rapper, you're thinking like, yeah, I'm lyrical, and then because people would come up to us and be like, dog, I love Binary Star. Who made the beat for KGB? Oh, that was low. Yo, who said Rodney King ain't never felt to be like? Oh, yo, the Glenn Close. Cause they didn't know we was blotting our faces out. Nobody knew what we looked like. They were just shouting out lines, and it was just like, you get what I'm saying? So I think that kind of fucked me up. Like, damn, man, people really feeling that shit. Like, man, I'm just cracking jokes.
People like storytellers.
I'm telling stories, but that reality check joint, I was sweating bullets when I wrote that because I was like, my thing was this. I was like, okay, I can't rap like this dude. I don't have the wordplay. I don't have all that technical shit. So you know what? I'm not even going to try to rap like you. I'm not even going to try to be like nobody else. I'm just going to do my thing. That's why I said this is how I represent. I rock the mic 110%. It's intimate. I keep I'm just saying this is how I represent. I was sweating bullets. So when people be like, it's one of my favorite verses, I'm like, man, that's crazy. That's crazy to me that people think that's dope because I was like sweating bullets right now. Like, oh man, I at least gotta just make a dent in the track. You know, I'm like, fuck it, at least I made the beat. So, you know, I made the beat, so that's cool. But it's like, yo, it just blows my mind. But that's why you gotta rock with people that drive you to like bring out the best in you. You get what I'm saying? Because I ain't gonna do well if I'm playing with the Bad News Bears and I'm like I'm the best one on the team. You know what I mean? I'm better than everybody. But like when I know like all right, I gotta find a way to come.
Yeah,
I gotta come at this shit. Yeah, you're gonna dig. You gotta dig. You gotta rock with people that's gonna make you dig deep down inside. You know what I'm saying?
I couldn't agree more. What was the motivation behind starting Subterraneous Records?
Woo, Subterraneous Records. So, you know, Binary Star was like, you know, like this is my crew, you know what I mean? I don't care who's doing what, like we split the pie 3 ways, you know what I'm saying? This is us, whatever. And like, if you would have told me in 1999, November, that me and Ross wouldn't be working together, I would have probably laughed at you. I would have been like, man, you crazy, you know what I mean? But after a couple of certain conversations, because we already like wasn't really like a crew, you know what I'm saying? Right. And so I was like, yo, man, man, like if that's how you want to do it, just do it that way, man. I don't want to get in your way. That's how you want to make music, do it. Because when it comes to my music, like when it comes to me and my expression, there is no democracy. I don't give a fuck if the whole entire country want to jump off the cliff. I'm not jumping off the cliff unless I want to jump off the cliff. You know what I mean? I'm talking about a bass riff cliff, a cliff note cliff, whatever kind of cliff, you know? And it wasn't no beef. It was just like, man, you do your thing, you know? I'm going to do my thing. And I told Decompose, I said, yo, man, I'm about to start this thing called Subterraneous, man. And I said, I'm not asking no questions. I'm not even patronizing nobody talking about how y'all want to do it. Y'all want to do it like this. Y'all want to do it. I'm like, I done already did that. I'm not fucking with that. Like, this is what I'm doing. You trying to roll? He was like, I'm down. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about some dictator shit. I'm talking about like some people will disagree with you just because they can, yo. Like, here's the album cover. No, I ain't feeling that. All right, well, then what you feeling? Yeah, I'll let you know. 6 months later, they don't have no idea. I can't fuck with that. I can't I'm over here studying, doing research, networking, going out here building with cats, and then you're gonna come to the studio and somebody's just gonna be like, nah. They don't got no reason. They just and I'm not saying we gotta have the same vision. I'm just saying I got a vision. You got what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm not trying to, I'm not saying you gotta you gotta be whoever you think you gotta be. You know what I mean? When I think about that binary record, so many things in that record that I don't want to say people wasn't feeling. It's just like when I see the fans feeling it, I'm like, see, I know I was right. You know what I mean? Like I remember like reality check. Cats is like, why? I went in the booth. I'm like, hey man, I'm gonna come in like after 45 seconds. I'm gonna start rapping. Whoa, why are you gonna do that? I can't even explain why. I don't even know why. I just know that's how it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? And I'm not, you get what I'm saying? It's just one of those things where it's like, man, I just hear it like that. You know what I mean? Why we gotta have this poetry on the album? And like, that's me expressing myself. I'm not the one man army all the time. Sometimes I'm on some poetry shit. Sometimes I'm telling stories. Sometimes I'm spitting battle rhymes. Sometimes I want to talk about history. So if I don't identify myself, if I come out like Cannabis, like I can't even be on some LL Cool J shit on the next album. But I'm Cannabis, LL Cool J, Chuck D. Like I'm hitting them with all of that shit because that's what I'm on. You know what I mean? And like, that's how I had to express myself. You know what I mean?
Like you're not the type to just ask questions. You just come with answers. How you got shit done. During this time, you were actively serving as an ally with student and community organizations across the U.S. What was the most rewarding aspect of that work?
It's my thing is the reward is with Allah. You know what I mean? Like what are you doing this for? I'm not doing nothing for people. I'm doing it. I'm doing it for myself, but I'm doing the reward. Cause what reward do you like? How do you rank? What reward do you get for doing anything good, right? Who does reward come from? I'm not looking for a plaque, a statue, somebody to shout me out and say he was my mentor. I don't care about that. You know what I care about? I care about the times when I was teaching my little cousins how to sell dope, how to go steal. I'm taking my friends in here to go rob. And I was like, you know what, yo? I know I was misleading my friends. I know I was misleading my little sister, my little cousins. That's the dude I was. I don't want to be that dude. Now I want to be like, yo, man, let's go to Chicago. Let's get this money. But we not robbing people. We stealing shows. I'm like, yo, man, let's go to the studio. Yo, man, let's create. So now when I talk to youth, my thing ain't even about don't get in trouble. I'm like, yo, man, some of them is already in trouble. They already in juvenile. They already pregnant. They done already fucked up. My thing is, listen, yo, you could hit the bottom and you could bounce. You know what I'm saying? You don't gotta be stuck in the mud. You can pull yourself out of the mud and wipe yourself off. You don't need nobody's approval to be a clean person. Like I went to prison, a menace to society. Now I get to go to schools. Now I'm a cultural ambassador in other countries. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So for me, it's like, that's me. That's my atonement for myself. That's not me trying to pretend like I'm something I'm not or look like I'm giving back to the youth. First of all, every time I exhale, I'm giving something. Every time my heart beats, every time I think, So for me, what the reward is like, just knowing that I'm doing whatever I can do, whatever it is. I'm not even looking to check to see who commented on it or who thinks it's cool or whatever. When I hear people tell me 20 years later, you know what, man? I was 16 years old and you looked me in my eyes and you treated me like a man. Because I know what it was like to be 16, yo. I was in prison. I know what it's like when people are talking at me. You know what I'm saying? I know what it's like when people done already canceled you. They thinking, he done already fucked up. Like, you get what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. Like, I know what it's like when people are inserting themselves in your whole path or your whole journey. So my whole thing is not trying to tell anybody how to do anything. It's like, man, that's why I'm saying OneBeLo. You already are. You just be whatever it is. If you make some mistakes, if you stumble, whatever. But like, but take pride in your steps and or whatever. You know what I mean? And sometimes we use words. Sometimes it's art. Sometimes I'm just using my ears. Sometimes we just there. It's all kind of ways to support each other and whatever. So, you know, just community, wherever I'm at. It's not just, you know, I wanted to do this shit in Pontiac. But it's like, I don't want to go to Ann Arbor with all these. I don't want to be at the University of Michigan campus. But I was like, you know what? Everybody need the truth, Lo. These cats gonna be teachers and doctors and shit. They need to hear the real shit just as much as Lil Rollo. I'm like, you know what? It's for everybody. So I don't discriminate. I'm wherever I'm at. That's my community. My earth is the community. That's why I gotta think about it in relationship to Allah, because Allah is the creator of the universe, of all the worlds. So for me, that connects me to all the worlds. You get what I'm saying? It doesn't make me like, oh, I'm a this. I can't talk to you. I mean, it's like, nah. Like if I love the creator who created everything, that means I love everything that creator created. Every person, well, whatever they are, like we all can relate to each other in some kind of way. And like the art, hip hop, I don't look at hip hop as just music. It's whatever that expression is that comes out of it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know who's listening. I don't know what they're gonna get from it. You know what I'm saying? But I just know that love is powerful. You know what I mean? Truth
I think the
is
people
powerful.
that you don't think you need to talk to are the ones you need to talk to the most.
Boom.
I had a friend who went to Ann Arbor, and he told me some stories about what goes on there. Even now, not cute. You released a few projects under the alias One Man Army and helped to build the careers of several fellow Michigan artists on Subterraneous in the early 2000s. How did the partnership with Fat Beats come about?
Partnership with Fat Beats. So I had a homie I knew this guy who actually worked at Fat Beats, and it's not like I knew him but I knew him, and I knew he worked at Fat Beats, and so you know I was just putting my own music out. That's really what I was doing. I was cool with that. You know what I mean? And I hit up this guy and was like, "Yo, Ethan," I said, "Man, I'm about to put out this project called Sonogram. You know, it would be dope if y'all could like push a 12-inch or something, help me promote it." He was like, "Yeah, send me the 12-inch." So my intentions was, oh, yo, I'm gonna send this dude a 12-inch, you know what I'm saying, a single, and they'll put the single out, the vinyl out, and it'll help me promote my album. So I had just finished mixing Sonogram, you know what I mean? And so I was like, I don't give a fuck what song they put out, long as if they want to put out whatever. So I said, I'm gonna send them the whole album, and they could pick whatever. So I sent him the whole album, like, yo, man, pick whatever. And so he hit me back, and he was like, yeah, man, we don't want to put out the single. And I was like, oh, that's cool. He was like, we want to put out the whole album. I was like, whoa, shit. Like, I never even considered nothing like that. You know what I mean? And at the time, I had already had like a couple hundred pre-orders on my website or whatever. Like, I literally refunded everybody's money and didn't even tell them why. People was like, what the fuck? Because I'm like, damn, I don't even know what's happening. I don't even know. I don't want to say, yo, I'm about to sign, because I don't even know what they're talking about. You know what I'm saying? I just refunded everybody their money and was like, yo, let me see what's going on here. You know what I mean? And they was like, we want to put out the whole album. And it was like, this was like 2003. So 2003, and then they were like, we're going to put the album out February 2004. I'm like, cool. But I was going to Saudi Arabia. I think I was going to Germany or something. They was like, we want to wait and put it out in the fall of 2004. I'm like, oh, that's even better, because I'm going to be outside of the country. Then they was like, we think we want to wait and put it out the spring of 2005. And I'm like, oh, that's even better, because I'm going to, like, you know what I mean? And it was like, it wasn't like, because to me, they was like a piece of the puzzle. They wasn't like my savior.
We're waiting on them, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But like Fat Beats, I fucks with Fat Beats, you know what I mean? Ethan, you know, they show love. They came in. It was definitely a big piece of the puzzle. They did things that I don't even know. I don't want to say I wasn't paying attention, but I was in my own world doing my own thing. You know what I'm saying? And they were they was playing their role or whatever, and it was a cool partnership. I think it put me in front of a lot of people, you know what I mean, and that's dope, you know what I mean. But I didn't
exposure.
even, I didn't try, I didn't try to negotiate nothing. I was like, yeah, I try to put the album on, like, all right, okay, let's do that shit then. Cool, you know what I'm saying?
So I read that you changed your name to avoid confusion. Is OneBeLo the same man as One Man Army once was?
Okay, so, man, I know you asking me questions and I'm going off
Oh,
the
I appreciate a
tangents.
tangent. Don't you worry.
Okay, so here's the thing. I don't have no
Just a
name.
heads up, the live is going to expire in 2 minutes and we're going to have to restart. Do you want to restart
Okay,
now?
cool.
Okay, I'll restart. Just jump back on, okay?
All right, cool.
Talk to you in a sec.